Hi everyone, welcome back to another video of my Ski Corner with your host, Mike Quevedo. Today I'm going to review a trade paperback, Captain America, War and Remembrance, published by Marvel in 1990. It collects the issues of Captain America numbers 247 to 255 from 1980. It is written by Roger Stern, co-plotted and drawn by John Byrne, and inked by Joe Rubinstein. Many fans might associate Roger Stern and John Byrne with their work on another brightly colored idealistic superhero from Marvel's competitor. But before Byrne revitalized Superman in Man of Steel miniseries in 1986, and before Roger Stern shortly after applied further solid contribution with such storylines as Superman Exile and the sales-shattering Death of Superman, they teamed up in 1979 and delivered 9 excellent issues of Captain America that showcase not only the essential qualities that make the Sentinel of Liberty the appealing icon that he is, but also a solid example of effective superhero storytelling. There are no Avengers here, apart from very brief appearances. There's also no Red Skull or Baron Zemo. Yet, these are among Cap's most quintessential stories ever made, and you'll see why. We are first treated to a story that has Cap reaching S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters by running and leaping through buildings to inquire about the storied memories of his past. As Cap arrives, he finds Dum Dum Dugan in charge as acting director, while Nick Fury is visiting the imprisoned former Hydra leader Baron Wolfgang von Strucker in a federal maximum security prison outside of Ithaca, New York, to inform the war criminal that due to his lack of cooperation in explaining his arrival after having seemingly died many years ago, he will be extradited to Israel for his crimes. Dugan radios Nick Fury regarding Cap's arrival, and Fury tells him to take Cap to Fort Dix, and he will meet them there as soon as he's done with the business at hand. But as soon as Fury concludes communication, von Strucker cunningly unsheds a gas grenade from his shirt, unleashing it at Fury and incapacitating him. Meanwhile, Captain America and Dum Dum arrive at Fort Dix, where Dum Dum pulls a crate from storage containing Cap's old Foot Locker belongings from the 40s, including his original shield and his old war journal, which reveals that in case of possible capture from the Nazis during the war, the government decided to implant false memories on Steve Rogers to avoid revealing top-secret information. Shortly after the journal brings all missing pieces from Cap's mind back together, Nick Fury's flying Ferrari crashes through the camp's walls with Baron von Strucker revealing himself as the attacker. As Strucker is attempting to destroy Cap and Dugan with the car's potent blast, which end up sending Cap's round shield out of reach, Cap manages to put the car out of action by hurling a piece of shattered concrete onto one of the vehicle's propulsion units. Von Strucker, however, still remains a threat. Making use of the arsenal in Nick Fury's car, he injures Dum Dum Dugan with a shot to the shoulder, while Cap, having to rely on his comparatively less resisting old shield, succeeds in distracting von Strucker and disarms him with a tackle. The Baron is still not out, though. As he ungloves his right hand, revealing his electrified Satan's Claw, he resumes his attack on the Sentinel of Liberty. While inside the damaged Ferrari, Nick Fury regains consciousness and retrieves Cap's circular shield and throws it to him, ending the physical quarrel as Captain America deals a mighty blow to the devious gauntlet. Before Baron von Strucker can be taken back into custody, the curiously calm Hydra Lord chants a S.H.I.E.L.D. and explodes, revealing the Baron to have been a robot, which makes Cap recall a similar incident with the criminal the Manipulator. Watching this from afar in his hidden laboratory is a Machinesmith, whom to us is revealed as a perpetrator of this act and the one involving the Manipulator, of which Cap recalled. After the Machinesmith sets up another explosion that causes the Baron von Strucker robot to be completely dismantled, a round-flying module escapes from the shattered remains and heads to the Machinesmith's lab, avoiding soldiers' bullets, leaving Cap and S.H.I.E.L.D. little to no leads on who the robot maker might be. As Steve Rogers returns to his ordinary life as a freelance artist, the Machinesmith, driven by a mysterious anguish, prepares to unleash his latest ploy on Captain America, the monstrous android Dragon Man. The Machinesmith sets up Dragon Man, guided by the same round module used on the von Strucker robot, to track the Star-Spangled Adventure. Steve Rogers, while at social dinner at his neighbor's apartment, spots the flying behemoth. Inventing an excuse to leave the gathering, Steve dons his red, white, and blue garment with S.H.I.E.L.D. in ready mode. Baffled by his appearance in the city, Cap carefully approaches the Dragon Man on top of a building and recognizes a round module from the von Strucker android that is with the creature. Then, the round device releases a strong ultrasound that triggers the Dragon Man to go berserk. Cap tries to get the giant android away from innocent residents. But can the prowess of the living legend alone be enough to contend with the overwhelmingly titanic brute force of a being who proved a significant hardship to powerful figures like Hercules, Namor, and all four Fantastic Four? Next is a single story, Cap for President. After Captain America rescues a congressman and a hostess from a group of domestic terrorists at a plush convention, he is approached by a convention chairman for the third party called the New Populist Party and tries to persuade him to be their presidential candidate, stating that the people want a leader and not a politician, and that he'd be a viable political alternative for people wary of having to pick from the lesser of two evils. Cap says that he'll think about it, although he does not intend to think on it too seriously. Nevertheless, several hours later, Steve Rogers finds the Daily Globe headline stating that Cap is to run on an independent platform for president. His neighbors feel very enthusiastic of the news, as do fellow Avengers Beast and Wasp, and the president considers him a viable candidate, although Iron Man and Vision state their objectivity in regards to dealing with red tape and qualifications for modern problems, respectively. The next day, Cap decides to do heavy thinking on this by visiting the old school he attended in the 30s, and remembers what his former teacher had told him on how it is the duty of each and every one of his classmates to see to it that the land stays free, and that justice is extended to all, and that she has faith that they will all answer when their country calls them. Cap calls to make an important speech at the New Populist Party's first convention. Will he become a candidate for the most powerful position in the country? We then move to a two-parter story, where we find the notorious hulking criminal Mr. Hyde being broken out of prison at Rikers at his request by the French mercenary Batroc and his men for a payment of $5 million, of which Mr. Hyde then reveals to be a hoax. After a physical dispute, Hyde persuades Batroc to join him in hijacking a supertanker from Roxxon through the use of a two-man submarine, and demand $1 billion ransom along with Captain America as a hostage, with the threat of blowing up the tanker in the middle of New York Harbor if Roxxon Corporation doesn't comply. After Steve Rogers had gotten word of Hyde's prison breakout, he had already suspected Batroc to be behind it, and so, switching to his primary colored attire, Captain America heads toward the district attorney's office to inquire about possible whereabouts on Batroc. The DA informs Cap of Hyde and Batroc's ransom demand, and Cap, understanding the gravity of the situation, allows himself to be part of the demand along with the money. When Cap and the money are delivered to both foes in a small barge, as Batroc's men, himself and Hyde, board the barge to collect the loot and the first adventure, Cap steps on a particular board in the deck by his feet, which releases a substantial amount of a minute-long knockout gas that puts Batroc's men out of commission long enough for Cap to undo his ties and apply himself with nose filters. Batroc, however, immediately manages to launch himself at Cap with a drop kick, which Cap blocks with his shield. But as Cap is getting the upper hand in the fight, Mr. Hyde creeps from behind the Star-Spangled Adventure, and after Cap executes an ineffective punch onto Hyde, the latter unleashes his superior strength with heavy blows intending on killing Cap. Batroc, however, dissuades Hyde by convincing him that there has to be a more grand way for Hyde to defeat Captain America. Mr. Hyde agrees, and instead they have Cap chained atop front of the tanker like a figurehead. After frustratingly attempting to break Cap's shield with no success, Hyde angrily throws it unwittingly over below another nearby barge, and before Batroc is about to follow Hyde to the tanker's bridge to attend further matters, the Gallic mercenary discreetly and casually gives a soft kick to the port side chain release, giving the Sentinel of Liberty more freedom of movement from the chains. Will this be enough to allow Cap a successful attempt at breaking free? And what game is Batroc playing at? Next is yet another two-parter, as Cap is summoned to England by fellow World War II invader, Lord Falsworth, formerly known as Union Jack, as Falsworth believes that a series of murders involving mangled throats with blood totally drained from the bodies is the work of their old World War II enemy, the vampire Baron Blood. Although Lord Falsworth's daughter, former invader Jacqueline Falsworth, aka Spitfire, does not believe her father's theory, Cap is convinced to investigate the matter after recognizing the same sharp mind he knew of Lord Falsworth during the 40s. After Dr. Cromwell, who serves as the village coroner as well as Lord Falsworth's own physician, refuses to help Cap after finding the latter's inquiry about the possibility of vampirism insulting, the first adventurer seeks assistance from Scotland Yard as an inspector escorts Cap to the vault inside the Tower of London that contains the corpse of Baron Blood. As the vault's lid is lifted, an impaled corpse wearing the attire of Baron Blood is revealed, but Captain America states that the skeleton inside is not of a male, after he removes the stake from the body and no revival occurs. Hence, all leading little to no doubt that Baron Blood is out there. That night, while Cap is sleeping in Falsworth Manor, Baron Blood is creeping upon him to perform his ghastly business. But as he gets close enough, Cap strikes him with his shield. But after both engage in a physical quarrel, Baron Blood gets the upper hand as he hypnotizes a Star-Spangled Avenger. Immobilized, Cap seems helpless as the undead war criminal is about to sink his fangs into him. When Baron Blood executes the bite, he finds Cap's neck is protected by a layer of chainmail. While Baron Blood is aching in pain from biting steel, Cap snaps out of the trance, and after he and Jacqueline's son, Ken, attempt to stop the vampire, Baron Blood achieves an escape as he turns into a bat, flying away as the sun is rising. Captain America and the local authorities figure that Baron Blood can't be away from the same vicinity as Falsworth Manor. A search ensues throughout the village, the cemetery, the caves near the Falsworth estate, and each house, but there's no sight of the Baron. If only they knew that Baron Blood has actually been posing for some time as someone very close to the Falsworth dynasty. Lastly, for the 40th anniversary of the living legend, we are treated to a revisit of Captain America's origin, as told from President Franklin D. Roosevelt's perspective, from Steve Rogers' humble and frail beginnings, to his incredible transformation, and to dismantling Nazi saboteur operations. To me, these have always been what I consider definitive stories in Captain America's history. They showcase the vital characteristics of Steve Rogers in and out of costume. We also see Steve Rogers' other side of his life as an everyman type, who is maintaining steady work as a freelance artist, making ends meet, interacting with his neighbors, especially with Bernie Rosenthal, whom with he begins a romantic relationship as he moves on from getting over the death of Sharon Carter. And of course, how we're not going to talk about John Byrne's art. With John Byrne, you get something that's in the middle ground between Jack Kirby and Neil Adams. It's the boldness of Jack Kirby, wrapped with the realism of Neil Adams. And it's a style that splendidly captures the spirit of the Golden Age, Silver Age, and Bronze Age comics of Captain America. And Joe Rubinstein handsomely amplifies Byrne's style with its sharp inking. For good measure, this edition also contains, as a bonus, 6 unpublished pages from what was to be the 10th issue of the Stern-Byrne duo, which was to feature the Red Skull's return, as well as other villains like the Swine. All in all, it's a run no Captain America fan should be without, no fan of John Byrne should be without, and no fan of Roger Stern's Avengers and Superman work should be without. So there's this edition, and there's also 2 or 3 more recent ones out there available. Either any of those, or maybe if you want the single issues, go find them online, or your local comic book store might have them. So I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, make sure you subscribe, feel free to leave your comments down below, and I'll be seeing you soon. Take care, bye-bye.